So for our briefing, we'll do a quick briefing as we would if we were planning the flight for a typical training flight into the practice area to go do some maneuvers as if you were a pre-solo student pilot. So we're starting here at Paine Field on the east side of the airport at the east ramp, somewhere over here. I'm not sure what runway they'll give us, either 16 left or 34 right, departing off of this runway. We'll plan to go off to the would-be area over here as our practice area, so we'll request a west departure from the controller. A few basic things we want to check before any flight really are going to be the weather, also TFRs, the temporary flight restrictions, and also NOTAMs. So starting off with the weather, why don't you just hover over the little blue weather icon there for Paine Field. We'll see what it's looking like. So oof. Yeah, right now, not so great. Broken clouds at 1,600 feet, pretty gusty winds. So for what we're doing today, we need to be able to go a bit higher, more like 3,000 feet for these maneuvers. So we'll plan to use the custom weather like we discussed, and we'll call in with Ada Zulu for PilotEdge. So weather, we're gonna make it good. So weather, we'll call that good. TFRs for flight restrictions. Ordinarily, we would want to check this on some sort of a more official source that's going to track that we actually looked at everything. But for today, we can just informally check by looking at the layers and make sure we have the flight restriction layer up and showing, which we do. We've got that checked for TFRs, and as long as we don't see any, they would show up as kind of a red circle for where we can't fly. Looks like there's nothing like that in our area today. So no TFRs that we can see visually at least, and then NOTAMs for time's sake today. We're going to omit the NOTAMs, but we would ordinarily do a full briefing to make sure there's no taxiway closures or runway closures that could affect us. So aside from that, that's our plan. We'll plan to depart off to the west, and on the way out there, we'll try to do some coordination exercises to get you feeling confident with the effect of the rudder control and how to properly coordinate the ailerons with the rudder in a small plane. And we'll plan to do some slow flight stalls and then head back in for, we'll see how many landings we can fit in our time, a couple landings, and we'll call it a day. How's that sound?
That sounds great.
Awesome.
You're actually making me feel a little nervous. I'm like, man, I'm about to go fly a real plane. That's what I feel like right now.
Yeah, we're going to go do it just like we would in real life. So
I'm feeling the pressure, and on PilotEdge. Oh, God.
On PilotEdge too, exactly.
All right, let's do it, man.
All right, sounds good.
All right, ready.
All right.
All right, recording on both ends, and yeah, I guess we'll start here. My brakes on?
Okay.
Brakes are on. All right, cool. All right, guys, so we're using the Cessna 172 with the REP pack, Reality Expansion Pack. We have the checklist here, so we'll start with the seatbelts and shoulder harness. Are good. Brakes are set. Matter of fact, they just unset themselves. So there it is. They're set. Fuel selector set to both. All of our circuit breakers are all in and look good. Beacon on, so hide that. Pop the beacon on. Avionics switch is off. The master switch, we'll go ahead and turn it on. So you can see I turn both of these on at the same time?
Yep, both the alternator and battery side you can turn on.
All right, alt and battery on. And then next it's telling me to put throttle to 1/2 inch open.
Yep, 1/4 inch, and then I'll walk you through the rest from there. It's kind of a bit fast-paced. Just one item on the fuel, just check your fuel shut-off valve. Also, this is in the newer 172s. They have this extra shut-off valve for emergency situations. Just make sure that's pushed into the panel. Looks good, and this one's on both. So yeah, we're all set there. So we can continue. So the engine start here. We first want to prime the engine, and this process, if you kind of go too long on the mixture control, it will flood the engine, and REP will complain and make you do a kind of another procedure to start it up. So we'll have to be a bit timely on it. The first step, we'll do it after I talk through it first, will be to turn the fuel pump on. And then we're going to put the mixture all the way to full rich, and then your eyes are going to come over here to the fuel flow indicator. And what we're looking for there is that the fuel flow is going to be showing a positive number for about 3 to 5 seconds. And once you see that, we can go mixture back to idle cutoff without delay. And at that point, I'll walk you through the start from there. Really, we just have to put the mags to start, and then once the engine fires, we'll go mixture full rich. But Any questions so far? And if not, I'll walk you through it again from
No,
there.
no, let's do it.
All right, good deal. So yeah, fuel pump can come on.
All right.
Okay, mixture full rich, and then eyes go to the fuel flow.
Full rich.
Okay,
Yep, I see it
1,000, 2,1,000, 3,1,000, idle cutoff.
Yeah, we still
There we
flooded
go.
the engine.
Oh gosh,
I think
okay.
it's right at 5 seconds because as soon as I pulled it
perhaps
back,
yeah. Okay. Well, we'll go through the flooded engine start. So as it says, we'll go mixture full leaned, and then throttle to halfway to full, and then we crank the engine. And then it's going to fire. Once it does, you want to you have to do some gymnastics here. Go mixture full rich, and then bring the throttle back so we don't blast all the airplanes behind us away.
okay.
So
Magneto the both.
better try. Yeah, magneto's all the way to start at this
Start.
point. By the way, fuel pump can come off also, but we'll handle that in a second.
Okay, fuel pump off now.
Yeah, you can turn that off. Sorry, I think I missed that after the mixture. There's a mixture cut off and then fuel pump off.
All right,
so
then
that's my
magneto's to
mistake.
start.
Yeah, so magneto's on start, and then we're waiting for the engine to hopefully fire.
Oh, the Cessnas. There it is.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, mixture full rich, and then throttle back to about 1,000 RPM.
Oh, we're moving.
There we go.
There we go.
Nicely done.
That was
before the check.
aerobatics or acrobatics. That felt like
Basically.
acrobatics.
So yeah, before the checklist even calls for it, immediately we want to check the oil pressure showing in the green in case we don't want to damage the engine if something were wrong. So oil pressure is checked, and from there I'll let you go ahead and finish the checklist. By the way, we kind of skipped one item there just to cover ourselves. Propeller area clear. So this is where you get to open up the window and yell clear prop to make sure no one is around the airplane. So
Clear.
there we go. Okay. Better late than never, right?
Yeah, better late than never.
Okay, so starter engage, engine start checklist is complete, and we'll continue on to the after start.
So ignition switch both. Mixture at engine start rich, which it is. Oil pressure check. Mixture leaned max. So do I need to do that now or?
Yeah, so for the leaning of the mixture, let's just approximate for today. There's a kind of a fancy leaning procedure you can do to really optimize, but just bring it back by about 1 inch or so, and that'll just conserve some fuel while we operate on the ground and prevent the spark plugs from being fouled up. So
Okay.
about 1 inch back, that's fine. Okay, so you can continue.
Where were we? Mixture lean. Where was it? Oh, lean max. There it is. Flaps retracted, which they are. Avionics on. So we do have a busted bus 1.
Right.
So we're only going to have the 1 GPS, but we're not using GPS anyway, right? We're just doing some air work and stuff like that.
Yeah, we'll plan to just navigate visually and use the COM2 radio, and that should cover us for
That's
today.
why you got 2 radios, right?
There you go.
Cool. So avionics on, instruments. Anything I need to do instrument-wise, or are we okay? I mean, we're
So flight instrument-wise, we'll probably look at this again during the run-up, the before takeoff checklist. But we could set our directional gyro in accordance with the compass here. So why don't you see what direction the compass is showing, and then reset the DG, the directional gyro, accordingly. So it's like 1, 5, 6 or so. We can set that.
so this right here, right?
Exactly. Yep.
So it needs to be 156.
Yep.
Close enough.
Yeah, looks good. And aside from that, other instruments we want to check would be the altimeter. It looks like that's reading the field elevation already. Field elevation here is, let's see, it's about 600 feet, 607. So
Should I set this at 29902? Or you said 600?
if that's the pressure you've got in X-plane, then sure, we can just set 2992. That should.
But it's 600 feet is the actual elevation.
Yeah, it depends on where you're at on the field, but on the east side it sits about 600. So
Okay.
yeah, that should be fine.
All right.
Okay.
Approach Cessna
And yeah, that should cover us for flight
905-722
instruments
on
for
the ground
now.
at Hillsboro. I'd like to pick up IFR clearance
yeah,
to
down.
Good on that.
McMinnville.
Okay, sounds good.
405 Juliet Hotel, contact Seattle departure.
Over departure, good day, 5 Hotel.
All right, or better. Okay, so let's continue. So, instruments are set, and after engine start, check
Seattle,
this
good
complete.
afternoon. Vision Jet 405, Juliet Hotel, Buffalo 3000.
So yeah, at this point we can go ahead and call up ground. Ground frequency here at Paine Field is 121.8.
Alright, I got that plugged in.
Maintain 15,000.
Alright, awesome. And I think you've got 1228. I'm not sure if it's.
Clear to the McMinnville Airport
This
as
is on the
well.
call.
Maintain 4,000. Approach frequency 124.35. Squawk 3475.
So are you using COM1 then?
I am
from
actually using
the
COM
internal
1,
panel?
you just can't actually see
Okay,
it.
fair enough.
I have it
So-
on mine,
Perfect.
radio
Okay.
over here, but I can put that on COM 2 also, just so you
Yeah,
can see
whatever you prefer.
4.35, departure, squawk 3435.
it. Changing? Oh, that's the other one.
Jack 95722, squawk 3475, and hold for release.
3475.
There it is. Alright, so what was it again?
95722.
121.8.
722, read back correct. Give me a call.
And then if you want to pre-tune the tower frequency for 16 left, 34 right, it's going to be 120.2.
1202. Alright, I got that in. And then 121.8. I don't want to actually set COM 2's off anyway, so.
Go check your microphone before you call me back. We'll be on break. Vision Jet 405,
And
Juliet Hotel.
20.2.
Direct order,
Yep.
Juliet Hotel.
Oh, I keep changing the wrong one. Hopefully I'm not making you dizzy.
It's all good.
There we go.
So there, 1337,
Alright, cool. Do
Okay,
we,
and
are
while
we
we're down
okay
there, by
with
the way,
this?
let's also go ahead and just set your transponder to altitude. In the
Okay.
U.S., when you're operating on the ground at a controlled airport, we want that on altitude. So yeah, 1200 VFR, all looks good. So we can call up ground when you're ready. Just tell them where we're at. So we're on the east ramp, and requesting a VFR departure to the west with information Zulu.
East ramp, departure to the west with Zulu. Or want a taxi departure.
Yeah, exactly. There we go. We're ready for taxi for a VFR departure to the west with information Zulu.
Okay, I'll do that. Paine Field ground, Cessna 16 Bravo is on the east ramp, requesting taxi and western departure with information Zulu.
Jack 16 Bravo, what's the direction of departure?
Westerly departure for November 16 Bravo.
Or 16 Bravo, runway 16 left, taxi via Foxtrot.
16 left via Foxtrot, November 16 Bravo.
All right, excellent. So 16 left via Foxtrot. Before we move the airplane, always good practice to get your airport diagram up. And this is a really simple taxi, but just to make sure there's nothing weird on the way to verify the route. So I think you've got that on your iPad, you said. But yeah, 16 left via Foxtrot. We're out from the east ramp. It's basically just a right turn, if that's what you see also. And technically it turns into Foxtrot 1 at the very end, but other than that, no hot spots or anything. So
Jack
it
17
should
here,
be
Charlie, loud and clear.
a pretty simple taxi.
Alright, cool. So I just, taxi lights, or that necessary?
Yeah, so at this point, good practice would be to light up the airplane as much as possible to increase your visibility, as long as it's not going to distract other airplanes. The exception with that is the landing light. That's usually reserved for when you're actually ready to take off and you're cleared for takeoff. It's kind of a signal to other airplanes. But yeah, for now you can put taxi, nav, and strobe lights. So I'll put all those on.
Okay. And then I just release the brake and just go, or I mean,
Yeah,
this is
exactly,
I'm
so-
doing this as this was real. Like if I was in a real plane,
no,
I
this
would be
is-
hesitant to let this thing roll.
Yeah, so we can roll forward, and just to get oriented. So like right now we're pointed in a 160 direction, so we see that we're gonna have to make a right turn to head towards the runway threshold. So we'll plan to make a right turn out of here. So we can check that we're clear to the right. So take a look off to your right, make sure no airplanes are in the way there. So clear right and also clear left. No one else coming off from the left side. Okay, looks good. So you can release the brake, and once the airplane starts rolling, good practice would be to just tap the brakes to make sure that the brakes are working properly, and then we can continue on. So there you go.
Right. I'm not even putting any power in, it's just going.
Yeah, just this is good speed. Just let it roll.
So what about my
rush.
seating position? Am I good? Am I too low? Should I move up a little bit?
If it were me, I would move up just a little bit so you can see a bit of the engine calling. yeah,
that.
like right there, that looks really good, yeah. So then we need to find the run-up area, which we'll probably see it here once we finish the turn. It should be, yeah, like right over, let's see here. Actually, I don't know for sure where if this is an official run-up area, but
what's standard taxi speed in a plane like this? Like, 'cause some people will say like walking speed.
Yeah,
some
I mean
people
like
say 20
brisk walk.
knots, you know,
before
like,
you keep going. Yeah, yeah. We can do the run-up here. I think that'll be
Here's
fine.
good.
We'll.
There's
Yeah,
actually
we
a
can
little
just
like
do a holding short.
hole right here.
Yeah, like we could. Oh, there it is. I couldn't see it, so perfect. Let's turn into there. We'll do the run up. Ideally, we do it facing into the wind, but today, hey, we've got calm winds from our custom weather, so we'll whatever way you want to face is fine.
Right.
Sorry, what was the last question you were asking?
No, it's just taxi speed. Like what's
taxi speed? Yeah. So brisk walk. I mean, if we're talking actual numbers, not really something you're usually looking at, but I mean when you're on a straightaway and you've got no winds to be concerned about, nothing coming up, I mean perhaps 15 knots, 20 knots or something in a light airplane could be reasonable, but yeah, when we're making turns, and certainly much slower than 10 knots.
All right.
So yeah, this looks good. From here we can go ahead and bring up the before takeoff checklist, and that'll cover our run up and anything else we need before we launch.
All right, before takeoff checklist, parking brakes set, flight controls.
Next page. Yeah, you've got your. Oh, there you go.
Wrong one?
So actually, no, I think you were on the right one. It was a little delay with Zoom, so.
Oh, okay.
my bad. No, I think you're on the right one. There you go.
This one, my plugs are foul at this power setting, or am I?
Yeah. So why don't you just bump the throttle up a little bit higher to make the REP happy. There you go. So if you operate with a really low power setting and rich mixture, it can cause some deposits to build up on the spark plugs. I don't think at that RPM it would be a huge issue, but yeah, we'll bump it up and it looks fine now. So there you go.
Number 405.
So this is the correct checklist?
Seattle Center 126.6.
Yeah, this is right. So before takeoff checklist.
All right, cool. So parking brake set, flight controls. So I assume we do a little bit of this and this.
Yep. So all directions, full freedom of motion, and you're also checking the actual control surfaces as you do this as much as you can. Some airplanes you really can't see much, but when you're doing the aileron, if you can actually check the aileron is moving in the proper direction, so you go left and the left aileron goes up, for example. So there you go.
Cool, very cool.
Yeah,
it's very cool.
Exactly. It's a lot more visceral than flying the heavy metal. You can actually see the stuff moving. So
yeah. All right, and so flight controls free and correct. Flight instruments set. Elevator.
So yeah, and the way I usually do this, we just systematically. So airspeed 0, attitude indicator. We're not really using that much today, but it's level with the horizon, so that's good. Altimeter is reading field elevation, so that's perfect. This is all centered up. For your DG, we can check once more that it's aligned with the compass. So we're looking for, what would you say, 276 or so on here, and 276 is also showing, so that looks perfect. I would also set the heading bug for the runway heading, which from the airport chart here, it's 164 for runway 16. So you can set that so we have a reference when we're doing the initial departure, 164.
All right. Got it.
Okay, and aside from that, so yeah, heading looks good, and then vertical speed indicator is on 0, and that covers all your flight instruments. So yeah, I'll let you continue on from there.
Okay, so elevator trim. So is that something I need to do?
Yeah, so just verify that the little the white mark here is lined up with. Oops, sorry about that. The white mark is lined up with the arrow. That's the takeoff position. So elevator trim is set.
Charlie.
All right.
Centennial ground runway 17 left taxi Alpha.
Pause just for a second. I think I need to map that.
Oh, your trim?
Yeah, I was late turning it.
That'll be a very important one for today.
It was not moving.
Okay. Yeah, we definitely want the
trim
trim.
wheel down.
Portland departure, Cessna 95722, passing 2,500, climbing 4,000.
Pitch trim. I think I clicked it down when I
Jack 95722, Portland departure, radar contact.
Yes, pitch trim.
95722.
Test it. Yep. torquing. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's pretty important, right, for what we're doing today.
Yeah.
Okay, so elevator trim is set. Mixture rich or for run up. So
Yep. So all the way full rich.
all the way forward.
Yep.
Alright, so mixture is rich. Autopilot check disconnect. So I just go in here, I guess, and hit a button.
Yeah, I mean, you could turn it on and then just verify that the disconnect is properly functioning. So
Yep.
there you go. Good.
Throttle 1800 RPM.
Okay.
Right there.
Okay, looks good. So the ammeter check, what you're looking for there is if you put some load on the electrical system to make sure that the battery doesn't have to discharge to cover that. So if this is the ammeter right here. So if you were to turn on some more lights, let's say, which we've already got pretty much all of our lights on, but you can turn on the landing light, for example, and just make sure it doesn't, go into the negative and stay there when you do that, and that covers the ammeter check. So let me know if you slip the landing light on, and we'll check that.
And the Portland altimeter 3003.
Land light's on now.
Okay, so then turn it off, and yeah, we'll call that check good. It didn't really move any at all, so that's perfect.
Okay. Engine instruments.
All right, engine instruments. So that's going to be your oil temperature, oil pressure, and then also you've got your fuel flow there. All of those are in the green, so we'll call that good.
All right. Next, suction.
Suction, that's your vacuum gauge here. So again, you're looking for that to be in the green. Looks good.
Magnetos. 125.
Magnetos.
50.
Yeah, so that's going to be on your magneto switch here. We want to go, to begin with, 2 clicks to the left. Be careful not to go 3, just 2. Otherwise we'll turn the engine off. And when you do that, what we're looking for is to see how much the RPM changes when you go down. So initially we started, I think it was a little above 1800, and so we've dropped to maybe 50 or something like that. So that's perfect, and then we'll go back to both like you did, and then 1 click to the left. About 50, drop to 50, back to both. And then this is the maximum drop, the 125 RPM. I think these numbers might be off from the real POH, so just check that if you're a real world pilot there.
Okay.
And the difference is between the 2 drops that you get. So our drops were 50 and 50, so there's no difference. But if you had one drop that was, say, 100, and then another drop that was, 175 or something like that, then there would be a difference issue as well. So
Gotcha.
Anyway, we passed that check, so you can continue.
Nice. Throttles, so throttle idle. No?
Yep, all the way back to idle. Make sure the engine doesn't quit on us.
Sounds like it is.
All right, cool. And then we can go back to 1,000 RPM. Very good.
That is so cool. I'm sorry. The fact that
I can't hear your
can't
audio,
hear?
unfortunately, but
Oh, man.
I assume it sounded like it was kind of coughing and sputtering a little bit.
Yeah, I thought that engine was gonna die.
Yeah,
so that was
sometimes they
expected.
do when the when the fuel settings aren't tweaked quite right, but glad ours didn't.
All right, radios. They are set. Again, we don't have COM 1 today, so we're using COM 2.
Okay. So at this point, we're holding short of the runway. You can just go over to tower now, just so we're done with that. So 12, 0.2, I believe.
I'm on tower.
0.2. Awesome.
And brakes released, doors, windows closed. Flaps as required, and mixture rich below 3,000 feet.
Okay, flaps is required, so we'll do a flaps up takeoff. And good practice in a plane like this is to always visually verify that the flaps are at where they're set, because sometimes you put the switch in one position in a real plane, stuff breaks, they don't actually go there. So we've already, it looks like you're actuating them and they're moving, and then just make sure they stay up for the takeoff, and we should be good to go.
Cool. Very cool.
Awesome. So and then we would usually also do a departure briefing. So I can walk you through something what that would sound like for a light airplane like what we're flying today. So we're departing 16 left, and our plan is to do a westbound departure. I'm not sure if he'll approve the turn off to the right away, but we'll see if he wants us to go straight or something initially. If we have some sort of an engine issue, and this is a big topic on what altitude would be okay for if your engine failed on takeoff, where would you go straight versus where would you turn back? But let's for today keep it simple. Let's say below 1,000 feet AGL, which is going to be 1,600 MSL, we'll plan to find something that's more or less straight in front of us.
Okay.
And above that, we can consider a turn back to the runway. Probably would make more sense to turn to the right today, since there's more pavement off to the west side. So if we had a turn, we'd make a turn to the right and find the best option at that point. But below 1600, we'll go land straight ahead and the best thing we can find. Yeah, we'll wind conditions are calm winds, so no crosswind we're expecting, and that should pretty much cover it. We'll go up to 3,000 feet on the altitude. Any questions for me?
No, I'm good. As long as you direct me in the right direction, we're good to go.
Sounds great.
I do want to get my
So at this point we can, for Skyvector, you can, up to you on if you have that up, or we should be good.
I just feel more comfortable having the chart.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of have an idea.
Have a chart to follow along with. We've got that 430 there, but we're sure as heck going to try not to use it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Where the heck is KPAE? Is that it? Yeah, it's it right there. Alright, so we're descending not descending, we're going south departure. And
westbound departure.
Well, I mean, like we're taking off south and turning right,
so initially.
And we'll see the water.
Yep.
Okay. I just wanted to get a visual in my head where we were. Okay,
Perfect.
so I'm ready.
So you can taxi up to and hold short. When you call them that you're ready, you want to be really ready to go. So before you move again, check clear left. No planes coming in from the left side.
Yeah, clear left.
All right.
All right.
Sounds good.
I am on tower 120.2.
Awesome. Yeah, so just tell them that you're holding short at runway 16 left and ready for actually this is the ILS hold line, so we should...
I don't see another line.
I'm trying to see... Yeah, I think this is a scenery issue, actually, because I think
So the scenery's wrong.
Yeah, scenery hasn't painted that line quite right, so it did look like we were at the hold short spot, so good catch. So just let them know we're holding short of 16 left, ready for a west departure.
All right. Let me turn them up. Paine Field ground, Cessna 16 Bravo is holding short, runway 16 left for a western departure.
That's 16 Bravo, Paine Tower, right turn to the west approved, only 16 left, clear for takeoff.
Right turn approved, 16 left, clear for takeoff, Cessna 16 Bravo.
Awesome. So yeah, we're good to go off to the west. So the mnemonic that a lot of pilots like to use is taking off lights, camera, action. So you can turn your landing light on.
I like that.
Yeah,
I like that.
So landing light on, and then camera refers to the transponder. So just double check that the transponder is on altitude, which it is. And action, that's self-explanatory. We're going to go take off. So as we're going out to the runway, we want to take special care to check the final approach area, that there's no airplanes coming in on final. So call out finals clear.
DS antenna altimeter 3009.
Once we turn onto the runway, we'll just verify the heading indicators lined up with what we're expecting, the 164-ish. We'd be looking for a windsock and making sure that the winds are still what we expect. I don't see one right now, but I know you're good. Okay, so we'll call heading checked.
Heading check.
All right, cool, let's go. So smoothly apply full power. As you do that, use your right rudder as needed to hold center line. Looks beautiful. Yep. Very good. Okay, temperature, pressure in the green. The airspeed is alive. Looking for 55 knots, and then we can pull back to rotate. There you go. Rotate. Awesome. Normal climb speed, about 80 knots, so you can just hold the nose right about where you see. And the best way to fly visually is just to find where the horizon line intersects the panel, like this point right here, and just hold that constant. Because if you do that, the speed is going to stay right at 80.
Okay.
So nice and easy.
Right turn?
Yeah, I would wait maybe just a tad bit longer. Let's just wait. You could turn now, but I'd probably wait till about pattern altitude and then start to turn to the right.
And pattern altitude would be what, 1600?
Yeah, exactly. 1,600 feet. Exactly.
22 net traffic between you and McMinn's. I'll report your IFR cancellation or missed approach in the air on this frequency or on the ground.
And we can start our westbound
landing
turn now.
on 122.2. Change to advisory frequency.
Good practice, like when we're on the ground, just checking to the right that we're clear to the right.
Change to advisory
Looking a
approved,
little
and
bit
I'll
to
cancel
make
ground.
sure there's no one above your wing, but yeah, this is good.
So how deep should I turn? Is this okay? Or
Yeah, this is fine. There's no exact rule, but you know, something like this, 20, 30 degrees would be totally reasonable. And yeah, why don't we target heading roughly like 280 or so? That should get us heading towards that Whidbey Island.
Juliet, we'll be ready to taxi with Kilo.
So that 1337, boys, the ground, runway 10 right, taxi via Juliet.
Hey, Juliet,
So yeah, the
the
island that Miss talked about is just the one off to your right. So yeah, we're
one
gonna
here?
be. Yep, that's a good area to head towards. So if the engine were to fail right now, what do you think we would do?
put it in the drink. Just kidding. Man. There's not a whole lot of open space.
Look off to your right. Look off to your right.
right there.
There we go. Exactly. Yep. So I mean, at this point, we've got plenty of altitude. We're close to the runway, so we'd just come in on 3-4 left. It would actually be pretty straightforward. So, all right, we are. So yeah, for 3,000 feet, let's just target 3,500 to start with, and then we'll come back down. We'll do a little descent. So we'll do a nice smooth level off at 3,500. For the level off, you want to start that a little bit before you get there, just like in any plane. If you take the vertical speed and take 10% of that, so about 500, 10%, 50 feet before, right now you can start pitching forward to bring the nose to level.
1337, boys, your calendar, runway 10 right, clear for takeoff.
A little bit more. So then just keep the power where it's at until the speed is built up to cruise speed, so about 95 or 100 is what we'll do today. And then you can start to bring the power back. We're not trying to go anywhere fast, so maybe 2,100 RPM would be fine. Just keep holding that nose down, whatever it takes to keep that vertical speed indicator right on 0. There you go. Yep, keep bringing the power back, 2,100. And I can see on the little flight control indicator here, you're holding some forward pressure. So let's start feeding in some nose down trim. That way you can be nice and hands off on the trim. Some nose down trim. All right. So let's work our way back down to 3,000 feet, and because that'll be a what we call like a valid VFR altitude. Just like when you file an IFR flight plan, you have to make sure you're going the right direction for a given altitude. Same thing for VFR, but if we're below 3,000 feet, then we can go whatever direction we want. So let's do a descent down to 3,000 feet. So why don't you just bring the power back to about 1,500 RPM or so, and we'll start that descent.
Jeez, this thing just drops when you put the power back.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, we passed it.
Let's go all the way down to 3,000 feet.
Okay.
Yeah, you can keep on going down. And once we're there, we'll go ahead and do a little bit of have some fun with the rudder and get to understand that a bit better and get into some maneuvers. There you go. So let's pitch up for level flight, because we're about 50 feet before. And then power, the level off from the descent, power comes in right away. So power up to 2,100. And then use your trim as needed to maintain level flight.
Yeah, I can really feel when I threw the power in, the nose kind of kicks to the left.
Yeah, it really wants to kick left. And actually, just bring the power back a bit more, about 2,100 RPM, right where, there you go. You're going to be really fighting the trim at the high power setting like that. But yeah, you're handling it well.
1337, contact, big sky
Looking good. So at this point, let's go ahead and do a turn to the right just to kind of keep ourselves close to the airport. Before you make the turn, check clear right. There you go. And before any maneuver we do in the training environment, we want to do a set of clearing turns where, okay, we turn to the right, let's say, and then as we're doing that turn, we both check if there's people below us, and we can look off to our left side and see, hey, is there anyone above us? Because we've got the left wing tilted upwards, so you can look out there and see anyone off to the left and just check all around the airplane. And we would do this usually one to the right and then another one to the left. Each shot. So we'll call this good for now, just for time's sake. And we'll get into the next thing. So what I'd like to do is just give you a good sense for in a light airplane, when do you have to use the rudder control? Because I'm sure you've heard that, okay, we want to coordinate the aileron inputs with the rudder inputs, which is correct, but when you're at high speeds, the effect isn't very obvious. So like right now, if you go ahead and, I don't know, maybe move your flight controls to about, 20, or your aileron, I should say, to about 20% deflection, let's say, go ahead and look at the ball here. This guy right here is what's going to tell us whether we need to apply rudder or not, at least in the sim. In the real airplane, we can feel ourselves moving around, we can feel the G-forces, but that little ball in here is all we have. So the basic principle is if the ball moves to the right, then we need to step on the right rudder. If the ball moves to the left, we need to step on the left rudder. So right now it's centered, so we don't need anything, but go ahead and just use the aileron without any rudder initially, just to get a feel. Maybe put in like 20% deflection of aileron, and let's see what the ball does.
Go ahead, look left, look right, and then just turn.
Yeah, just we'll focus on the that ball there, see if it deflects much when you put the aileron in. And you can see it goes off to the right a little bit, not a whole lot, so like it's telling you, hey, you should be applying a little more right rudder as you enter that turn. And then why don't you just roll level here? You can just roll level on north.
Springs approach 124.0.
There you go. So yeah, not particularly exciting, but if you slow the airplane down, what you'll see is that these effects become more exaggerated. So go ahead and slow the airplane down to about 60 knots, and I'll be able to really clearly show you how when you're at slow speeds, like you're coming in on approach, this coordination is quite important. So yeah, just power back, bring it close to 60, just try to maintain altitude there.
230 vectors high ball.
230 right turn, vectors high ball, 1337.
Or 405 Juliet Hotel. 5 miles from
Okay,
Macy,
so go ahead and add a little bit of power,
Macy,
just maintain the 60.
Cleared RNFX runway 28 right approach.
Perfect. So what I'd like you to do now is go ahead and make a abrupt input of right aileron without using any rudder. Then I want you to watch what happens to that ball. If you make a pretty abrupt input of aileron, let's see what happens. So now you can see it's still not moving a ton, but it's a lot more obvious that that ball goes off to the right. If you go left, you'll see the same thing. So just kind of get a feel for what that looks like on the ball. And the other thing you can see visually is that when you make a turn, you want the nose to be moving the same way as the turn. So like if you're starting a turn to the right, you don't want to see the nose sliding off to the left. If you don't use the rudder, then you'll see the nose will go the wrong way initially. So just not even looking at the instrument panel at this point, I can actually cover all that up and just make some inputs there. Yeah, full back to basics here. Let me make it a little bit smaller so you can actually see the nose. So yeah, make those kind of abrupt inputs, but this time where I want you to focus is just like on the nose versus the horizon over here, and watch for any motion like this. So if you make just input of right aileron, you'll probably see the nose kind of slide off to the left initially, which is not what we want. We want to avoid that ordinarily, but give it a try. So right aileron, you'll see the nose kind of slide to the left. Yep, good call on the check, good. So it kind of lags, and then it will start to come off to the right. Not super obvious. Why don't you try it once more? I'll try to see your inputs there. So yeah, like you can see it takes some time to swing over to the left when you made that input without the rudder.
Yeah.
So anyway, you can play, it takes a little while to fully understand, but you can play around with that and just get a better sense for what that looks like. Any questions on that so far?
No.
Now, I mean, the whole point is not to fly the airplane in this funny state. We want to fly it coordinated. So ordinarily, to make a good turn, you want to use both the aileron and the rudder in the same you know, coordinated at the same time.
Salt Lake
So
Center,
why don't you try a
maintain
good
flight
turn
level
this time?
230.
Let's make a turn back to the east, so a 180,
Jet 405
and this
Juliet
time
Hotel, connect 41
use
tower,
the
18.7.
rudder and aileron together to
Contact
keep the
tower,
ball
Roger,
centered.
Delta.
So when I turn right, I put in right rudder as well.
Exactly. Yep.
Like-
So right aileron, right rudder.
Like a
Yep.
lot or little? How much?
It depends. It depends on how abruptly or how much you're deflecting the flight controls. So if you're making a very, you know, gentle input, it's not going to be very obvious, not going to be very much rudder required, but more abrupt input is going to be more. So play around with it, have some fun, put in a good healthy amount of aileron and a good health, you know, whatever amount of rudder to keep the ball centered.
And do I put the rudder in before or after or
Simultaneously.
At the same time? Simultaneously. Okay,
Yeah,
that's good.
yeah.
All right, that's right.
Yeah, it'll take some work to. But, oh, looks good. You can feel, you know, kind of have to get a little feel for it, but yeah, that looked good.
Board 1 approach.
Very nice.
Cessna 905722. On the ground at McMinnville. Like to cancel I-4.
Scott 95722.
Okay, so let's roll wings level. Even when you roll wings level, you also want to be coordinating those inputs as well. So yeah, left aileron, left rudder, very good. Ball stayed nicely in the center. So very good. Why don't we go ahead and recover from this just back to normal cruise conditions, so you can add your power back to about 2100, and let's just try to maintain, let's say, 2500 over here. And yeah, because we were trimmed for that really low speed, you're going to see the nose is going to want to really come up. So yeah, just hold that nose down. There we go. Very good. Hold the nose down more. Start feeding in some nose down trim to make your life easier, and you'll be all set.
Scott 733 November Bravo, Salt Lake Center, the McCall altimeter 29908.
2500?
Yeah, we can do 2500, that's fine. All right, very good. How's the trim feel? If you kind of take off pressure, is it staying where you want?
I'm working on it.
All right, we're almost there.
37 connect Salt Lake Center 128.7.
As long as you're trying, that's the important part. And the trick with being able to hold altitude as precisely as possible is, there's many tricks, but one of them is to try to catch any deviations as early as possible. So like right now I see your vertical speed is going up. We want to, you know, squash that as soon as we notice it. So as soon as you see the vertical speed indicator going up even a little bit, looking outside, you put the nose down just a little smidge, and then we check and see, hey, did that work? Did that give us the effect that we're looking for? All right, so from there, why don't we go ahead and do a basic power off stall, and I think at that point we can head back in for a landing or two, if that sounds all right.
Yep, sounds good.
All right, sounds good. So before we do a new maneuver, it's good practice to do a set of clearing turns again. So why don't we just do let's do a 90-degree turn to the left, so 030.
Okay.
And we do have to take some care of the airspace over here, because the Paine class Delta airspace is, you know, fairly close to where the edge of this Whidbey Island is, so that's where I kind of want to keep us away from the edge of the Delta airspace also. There we go. This is fine here. Why don't you point right towards the tip of this island here? I'll call that good.
Still climbing.
Yeah, altitude control, it takes some practice, but really if you can, you know, when you're practicing this, just kind of simplify it as much as possible, and kind of not focus so much on the instruments, except for maybe just basic stuff like your vertical speed and altitude, but primarily looking outside the airplane, and, you know, just keeping the nose steady with a particular reference on the horizon, and that'll be your best bet for just maintaining smooth the flight.
Okay, hold on just one second. Get the audio situated. Okay, you're good. Sorry.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so let's go ahead and make one more turn to the left, 270 to get a little further away from the Delta airspace, and then we'll go ahead and start the stall practice.
Okay. I'm gonna make not as sharp as a turn this time.
One thing I failed to mention on the coordinated flight practice, if we were in a real airplane and we had Austin here on the dashboard, and you weren't glued down or anything, a good metric aside from the the ball here for whether you're coordinated is if he stays nice and steady on the dashboard. So I don't know if that's modeled, probably not. He's probably glued on there, but
Yeah, he's glued on there. Good.
Bummer. All right, so let's go into the stall practice. So what we'll do is just a basic approach to landing stall. So we're gonna pretend that we're coming in for a landing, but for whatever reason we get distracted. We have the power set too low, and we are holding the nose up too high, and the angle of attack gets so high that we stall the airplane, and then we want to recover. So to set up for this, basic briefing is going to be like we're coming in for landing. Our initial power setting, usually about 1500 RPM, and then we'll start to add flaps as we slow down, so flaps 10, 20, 30, and then we're going to start to descend at about 65 knots. That's our 172 approach speed most of the time. Once we're ready to start to initiate the stall, I'll tell you, okay, let's bring the power to idle, and then just keep holding the nose up more and more and more, and then eventually the airplane will stall. You'll feel that when the nose drops down on its own. That's considered the brake, the indicator of a full stall, and then we can go ahead and recover. So the recovery procedure, the main, primary, number one thing, if you forget everything else, is get the nose down. We can't recover from the stall unless we reduce the angle of attack, which means pitching down. Not to an extreme level, because we also don't want to get so low to the ground that we're going to cause another issue. But yeah, so pitch down, and then as soon as we do that, we can add power, because we want to climb away from the ground and start bringing our flaps up. So that'll be the basic stall recovery. So pitch down, power, and then incrementally raise flaps.
Okay.
Got all that?
Yeah. Just as we do it,
I'll walk you through it
as well.
So
Yeah.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and give it a try. So let's bring the power back to 1500. So for now, we're being good pilots. We're coming in for landing, doing everything right. 1500 RPM. And as we slow down, we can go flaps 10 initially. Very good. Just keep the nose down as you do that. It has a tendency to want to balloon there, so nice job on, there you go. And we can go flaps 20, flaps 30. There you go. Yeah, all the way to flaps 30 at this point is fine. And keep the nose pitched down for 65 knots. So we're just going to make believe we're coming in on final approach at this point. And there you go. So, okay, we're coming in on approach, and for whatever reason, something's distracting us. Let's bring our power to idle, and we're going to initiate the stall from here. So, at this point, just kind of keep holding the nose up. You don't have to do anything extreme, and this is one of the things that's important to look at. Just even slower, just nice, and just hold the nose right here for now. Like, don't even bring it up any further. And then when it looks like it wants to drop a little bit, then you pull back more. So pull back a little bit. Okay, pull back more. Pull back more. Pull back.
I'm all the way back.
All right. We'll give it another second here to see if it officially breaks. Okay, we'll call this fully stalled once you're at full aft elevator. So let's recover. So first priority, what is it?
Forward.
Nose down.
Nose
exactly.
down.
Push forward. Yep. We want to reduce angle of attack. Good. Okay. Now let's go full power. Just kind of start to get back into a climb. Flaps 20. Go flaps 20 right away. And just remember that picture from the climb out. You can just put the nose at that point on the, or put the instrument panel at that point lined up with the horizon, and that should give you a reasonable climb speed. Let's bring the flaps up to 10 and up. At this point, we've got plenty of speed. Keep the climb going. Very good. We can level off here at 2500. We'll just try to hold altitude there. And that's your stall recovery for you.
Nice.
So nicely done. That's good work. One of the things that's a little bit surprising for people, I think, I don't know if you noticed this, but when we actually stalled the airplane, it wasn't like you were pitched up to any extreme level. We were just kind of at like a level flight pitch attitude. So a lot of people think that, well, you know, a stall only happens when I'm pitched up to a high pitch attitude, but that's not the case. It depends on where your flight path is going also. And in this case, because we were descending, it didn't require a whole lot of pitch up to get the airplane to stall. So if you're not really in tune with what the whole flight path of the airplane is, you might think just from looking out the window, hey, everything's fine, like the pitch looks okay, but in reality, you're just about to stall. So
Yeah.
it's something to watch out for. All right, good deal. Well, you've done great. I think at this point, let's head back in and try to get a couple landings, if that sounds good to you.
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right, good deal. Let's see if we can find this airport.
I think it's that way.
Yeah, I think, like off to the east there, and you can see it. It's like a big concrete jungle out there because that's where the Boeing factory is. You should be able to see it pretty clearly once you make the turn. So yeah, we'll check clear left traffic and head over there. Now I can't see your sky vector, but if you can get a sense of where we are, you know, from the landmarks and see the Class Delta airspace, we should be, I think, at least you know, let's see here, 5 miles or so outside of the Class Delta. So we should have some time, but it's a bit tough for me to tell here right now. I believe we are kind of near the point that's called Point No Point to the north of that. I'm not sure if you see that one. It's, if you look at Paine and then go on about a 250 radial, I think we're somewhere around that area there.
Next, I think this here is still with the.
Yes, right. So that's a useless bay. It looks like. And
I think that right there might.
We head exactly. So yep, this looks perfect. We've got plenty of time. So yeah, we'd want to get the ATIS at this point, but hey, we're using custom weather, so we'll just tell them we've got Zulu.
Okay.
And inbound for, okay, so now we have to figure out what do we tell them we want to do. In a training environment, it's nice to be able to have the option to maybe do a touch and go, maybe do a stop and go, or a full stop, and not necessarily lock yourself into a particular option with the controller. So if you request the option, then it gives you the, like it says, the option to do any of those things. So you can do stop and go, touch and go, full stop, low approach, and you have the discretion to do whatever. So I'd say let's do that. I'm not sure if you've ever requested one of those before, but it might be something new to try.
Yeah.
And so when we call up, we'll tell them where we're at, which what would you say, direction-wise and distance-wise from what you see? Like distance, I would say probably 5, maybe like 8 miles or so. That's my guess. Then direction, if you just read off the tail end of your heading indicator there, what would we say?
We're west.
Yeah, so like 5 miles, or sorry, 8 miles or so to the west. Then we want to say inbound for the option with information Zulu. And I want to throw one more thing, just to make our taxi nice and easy and short on the way in. Tell them request runway 16 left, if you can.
Okay. All right, so repeat that one more time for me. So,
we're probably at this point, we'll call it 7 miles to the west, inbound for the option with information Zulu, request runway 16 left.
Okay.
If you miss something, don't worry. We'll fill in the blanks later. It's all good.
Paine Field Tower, Cessna 16 Bravo, 7 miles to the west, requesting the option runway 16 left. Information Zulu.
Skyhawk 16 Bravo, Paine Tower. At our right base, runway 16 left, report 2 mile right base.
Right base, runway 16 left, report right base 16 left. So it says no 16 Bravo. I think I said that right.
Yeah. So he wants a report on a 2 mile right base.
That's what he said.
Yeah. So when we're about 2 miles or so from the, it's always a bit confusing when they say that, what they mean by 2 mile right base. But about say 2 miles out from the airport, we'll give that call.
So I think now we're actually on a right base now.
Yeah, we are pretty well set up already for kind of a right base, so nothing too drastic to do. The runway that you see, the big runway, that's like from here to here, that's the runway 16 right, the very long one. And then the one we're landing on is, I don't know if you can see it, it's a bit tough in the Zoom screen share, but it should be kind of more
Yeah,
over.
I see it.
It is, okay, good eyes. right there it looks like. So yeah, I think we're in a pretty good shape for being on the base for that runway.
So are we okay altitude wise, speed wise?
We want to start descending for sure. So once we're about 3 miles out, which we're coming up on that, we want to be at pattern altitude at that point. So which is 1600. So let's definitely bring the power back to about. Let's try maybe 1700, so we can descend a bit steeper, and we'll start working our way down.
So when you want to like climb and descend, you're just using the throttle.
Yeah, like if you like what
like
speed you're at, yeah, if you like the speed, then you can do the climb and descent just with the throttle. That's the primary effect of adjusting the throttle. If you don't touch the trim, the speed will stay the same, and you'll establish a new climb or descent rate. So yeah, it's a good question. But yeah, this is looking good. We're coming down nicely. 1600 feet per minute. Popping my ears right now.
I was thinking, my ears are hurting right now.
Yeah, exactly. So all the buildings you see here, this is the the Boeing factory up there in Everett. So it's a pretty good reference for you usually turn final over those buildings for the short runway. So we're in great shape for a little bit of a extended right base for 16 left.
What should we call 2 mile right base by now?
I'd say a little bit longer probably. Yeah, I'd probably right about here. This is an estimate, but
Is that 2,000? Are we low enough yet?
this is 1,700. So yeah, you're right about it. Pattern altitude. This is great. Yep, you can
We'll go ahead and call it in.
exactly.
Paine Tower, Cessna 16 Bravo, 2 mile right base, 16 left.
Bravo, runway 16 left, good to land.
Just tell me to request the option if you could.
16 left, actually, could we get the option? Paine Field.
Number 16 Bravo, runway 16 left, good for the options and say intentions.
Intentions?
To tell them like to do option, then one pattern to the left, and we'll call it a full stop.
Yeah, we'll get the option 16 left and then left pattern for full stop.
16 Bravo, okay, verify runway 16 left cleared for the option to make left close traffic.
Yep.
Alright, clear for the option 16 left and then left close traffic, says 16 Bravo.
All right, good deal. So let's go ahead and start our descent down for
turn
16
yet,
left.
or?
So yeah, let's start to work our way in, and I'd bring the power to about 1500 RPM, flaps to 10, and we'll begin our way down.
Man, I'm doing real good. Sound like a student.
Well, I think you're on top of it. Usually, if you request the option, they
Yeah, he asked for intentions in this.
they want to know for sure if you're because you could just want to go back to another airport or something and not seeing the pattern. So yeah, we probably should have told them that. Hey, we're
eliminated 6 departure.
Departure.
Okay, so you've got your flaps. Yeah, let's go ahead and put the flaps to 10.
Departure between
you've got,
86 with the out of
2
4,000
whites.
for 11,000 heading to zone 0.
So we'll need to start
Let's
adding some
eliminate
drag
6
and reducing
departure,
power. Bring the power
radar
back a little
contact,
bit more
coming over your
fast and high.
maintain 11,000.
There you go. Very
Alright,
good.
clear to
Below
Sacramento
85 knots, we
VOR
can
up
add
to
flaps to
1,000,
20 and 30.
1696.
Up to you. You can get to 20 and then 30. Very good. Still a bit high, so power all the way back to idle if you're not already. Looks like you are. Good. Good. It'll come down. Once we start to see it change to red, then be sure to add that power back in, because otherwise we'll end up too low. But looking very good centerline control.
1 IFR to Yakima with backstay.
And what speed am I kind of?
65 knots. 65 knots. So you're very close. Let's start to add a little bit of power, and I can see we're coming back on that right glide path.
2001, Seattle plans go to Yakima Airport, Seattle 7
nice healthy dose of power. Pitch down a bit to get the speed
Seattle
to come
is
up.
filed. Climb maintain 6,000, departure frequency 120.4, squawk 3615.
Very good.
Clearing
Well,
up
let's
Air
just
Force
make
Seattle
this
from
a
departure
touch and
vector
go.
Seattle, be aware that cloud, call maintain to 6,000, departure 120.4, squawk 3615, Horizon Air 2031.
Horizon Air 20, we're
bringing
back
that power
correct
back.
amendment to your altitude, maintain 3,000.
Okay, power coming all the way back to idle.
Read back correct.
And keeping the nose down, keep the descent coming. Okay, and just holding the nose up, keep holding it off. Nice, awesome. Okay, so we don't have time to waste on this runway. Flaps up, and your trim looks more or less fine. Let's go full power and go ahead and take off for the touch and go. Very good. All right, so rotate 55. Nicely done. It's a tough runway for touch and goes.
Yeah,
there's not a whole lot of room, but you handled it well. Very nice. Yeah, your landing looked good. Excellent center line control. Good approach. Little, we can work on the speed control a bit, but overall, nicely done. So we can just continue straight for now. The point at which you want to turn your left crosswind is going to be about 300 feet prior to the traffic pattern altitude.
Okay.
So in this case, 1,300 feet, we'll make the left turn. Especially in the pattern, keep those habits up with check and clear left, and then we make the turn. Okay, very good. And this part's tricky, a lot of stuff happening, but here comes your 1,600 for pattern altitude, so we can start to pitch forward. Watching that vertical speed indicator, keep it on 0. And power can come back to 2,100. Rolling wings level, excellent. Yep, wings level. Nose down a little bit more, paying attention outside, just don't let that distance between the nose and the horizon change. There you go. And then trim as needed. We actually want to turn your downwind probably right about now. It's a very quick, a short amount of time on crosswind there.
Yeah, a lot going on in that section.
That's really one of the busiest parts of the pattern. A lot going on. You handled it well.
Over 390 information, Hotel Bravo Sierra approaching Lima, ready taxi, and we can take an Echo Charlie intersection departure.
Beautiful, nice. You can just pitch down a little bit, try to get the altitude back to 16.
390 Denver ground runway 17 right, taxi Bravo Sierra Echo Charlie.
What we're looking for next on the runway is when we're beam our touchdown point. So if here's our runway and you've got whatever desired touchdown point. I don't think this one doesn't have the 1,000-foot markers, but we'll say maybe about the 3rd runway stripe if you can see that. More or less would be a good point. And we are 1, 2, 3. Yeah, right about there. We're beam that now, so you can go ahead and start reducing your power to come in for descent. So 1,500 RPM like we've been doing. And flaps can come to 10 if you're below 110 knots in this plane. And just keep a nice steady descent going at about 85 knots. So a little less power, 1,500. There you go. Very good.
Am I holding altitude?
No. So we're starting our descent now. So yeah, try to hold about 85 knots for this part to keep the descent rate up. And you have to be looking a lot back and forth between your forward view and then off to your left shoulder. So let's see what the runway looks like. I think about here looks good for turning base, so you can make.
Walker 290 Denver Tower, turn right heading 2.
I don't think he asked us for any report. Yeah, we'll have to make sure we get our landing clearance at some point. I'd give him a little longer though. Once we're on final, we can give him a heads up. On base, flaps 20, speed about 75 knots.
Get a little slow, I think.
Yeah, so just pitch down a bit, and then we'll be able to see the runway here in a second and start adjusting from there. Okay, start working your way in on final. Usually in the sim, I tend to round off the corner a bit because it's tough to time it quite right if you don't have a VR headset type situation, but this should work out okay. I wouldn't descend too much more yet. I feel like we're going to end up a little bit low, not quite sure yet, but maybe just add a touch of power. Exactly.
3 November Bravo, register is terminated, squawk get fire, fixed, change approved.
There you go, very good. Yeah, let's give him a heads up that we're on final for a full stop.
All right.
November 3, November Bravo, radar service terminated. Squawk VFR, frequency change.
And there's your red and white. So
Paine Tower, Cessna 16 Bravo, short final, runway 16 left, full stop.
16 Bravo, runway 16 left, good land.
16 left for the land, Cessna 16 Bravo.
very good.
Biscan
Okay, power
1186,
back.
Seneca,
Let's
color
go
approach
full flaps.
127.4.
So power back to
127.4,
there we go.
that's
Let's get the lights
Walker
trending in the right
39, Seneca
direction.
departure.
Departure 390.
And approach Biscan
You're ready.
1186
Okay,
with
touch
you,
of power. Now that you're
level
back on glide path.
11,000
There we go.
with
Don't want to
information
start
record.
getting this slow this early. So
Biscan 1186, NorCal approach to maintain 4,000, the executive altimeter is 3003. Expect the visual
okay,
approach will
yep,
rate
keep the nose down. We
20.
want to keep descending until we're a bit lower.
Okay, expecting visual
Power coming to idle.
20, descending 4,000, Biscan 1186.
Very nice. There you go.
Gotta work on it. Gotta work on it.
380, 6.8 climbing 10.
I think we parked over there, right?
Yeah, so we'll make a
Walker
left turn off
390,
to get to
temperature
the east
radar
ramp.
contact line,
So
maintain
left
for
on
200, clear to Connor.
Foxtrot 3 should work if you're comfortable with
200
that.
to Connor, Walker 390.
Whew.
Nice, nicely done. A lot going on there with the pattern work, right? It's
Yeah.
pretty intense exercise.
I like doing it with the ATC because
Yeah.
it kind of it saturates you, you know.
It does,
Um,
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a whole nother layer of stuff to think about. So you
Yeah.
can just stop the airplane here, and then we'll get it cleaned up. And yeah, so flaps up. We can turn our landing light off at this point, and also bring the mixture back about an inch or so, like we did before, to make the flight school owner happy that we're saving them some gas on our very long taxi. It's like right in front of us. Okay, so then yeah, just we'll need to get taxi clearance from the controllers. So just tell tower that you're clear of 16 left at, was it Foxtrot 3, I think?
Yes, Foxtrot 3.
Foxtrot 3, and then taxi to the east ramp.
Paine Tower, Cessna 16 Bravo. We're clear 16 left at Foxtrot 3. We're gonna taxi over to the east ramp.
Biscan 1186, fighting 045.
Heading 045, Biscan 1186.
November 16 Bravo, text right via Foxtrot with this frequency.
Ramp via Foxtrot with you, Cessna 16 Bravo.
Perfect. To the ramp.
To the
All
ramp.
way.
The long taxi to the ramp.
Long taxi.
That was pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's intense.
It definitely showed me like areas that I really need to work on as you were kind of talking through them and I was doing them. Even though you were like, "Oh, you did a good job," I was like, "I sucked."
I wouldn't feel that way. I mean, from what I understand, you're mostly flying the heavy metal, and you know, if you haven't done a lot of this recently, it's something that will deteriorate with time. So no, I think you did really well.
Yeah,
So the
lately,
next 37 connecting, don't consider 1 tree, 1 and 5.
We did a lot. We did coordination exercises, stalls. We're thinking about airspace, pattern entries, descent planning,
1 tree,
traffic
2 under
patterns,
5.
talking about the options. So a lot of stuff in one flight, and you're on top of it. So
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Nicely done. Well, we can go through the shutdown checklist, and then we'll call it a day. Tie this plane
All right.
up.
Let's see. After landing check, lights off. I guess I'll leave that one on. Transponder off. Trim neutral. Okay.
Okay.
Flaps up. And after landing checklist complete, engine shutdown, throttle idle, mags ground check. I'm not sure what that means.
Yeah, this one I don't really like how they placed it in the checklist. Let's skip it.
Okay.
It should really be after you've turned your avionics off. But this is just to make sure that there's no broken wires that could lead to an issue if someone moved the propeller after you shut the engine down. But let's skip this one for today.
Alright, so just throttle 100,000 RPM, which it is. Avionic
Yep.
electrical equipment off.
Okay.
So, alright, mixture cutoff.
There you go.
And then master alternator off. Battery off, ignition switch off. And ignition key, glare shield, so I can still put that up there somewhere. I know that was in the checklist.
Put it around the bobblehead.
Yeah, where'd he go? There he is.
Where did he go?
Our ignition key is right there. Austin Meyer.
Perfect. All right. Well, yeah, that does it for our flight. Awesome work. And if you have any questions, let me know. But
that was cool. Securing how fuel secure all that. So yeah, man, thank you. I actually learned a lot. I'm actually gonna watch this back and practice these things on the regular. So
good. Yeah.
So yeah,
I think you're doing great. Yeah. I mean, if there's one area that, I mean, it's tough to practice in these patterns, but you could just do a bunch of approaches on the 3 mile approach, just maintaining that speed control in the very last part, because it's tough where you get a little bit high and then dealing with those two variables of the pitch and the power and getting those to all balance out and maintain the speed consistently on the way down. That was the only thing I saw that you could set up some exercises to practice that, but other than that,
yeah, that was the part I felt confused about, because you were like, all right, yeah, pitch down for 65, and then I would pitch down, and I was like, I feel like I'm gonna land on top of the Boeing factory, and I'm still doing like 55 while pitching down like flaps 10. So I don't know if it's supposed to feel like that, or we were just too low already, or what could I have done?
So the pitch is, you can think of that as your speed control at a certain point. Like if you're at, let's say, 55 knots and you want to be at 65, then the primary thing is to pitch down. But if you're already low, then you can't just pitch down without changing anything else. You also have to put the power in, because otherwise you'll get even lower. So it depends on the whole picture. Let's say that you're at 55 knots, but you're a little bit high. In that case, you could get away with only pitching down and not changing the power, because you want to descend and speed up. And if you just pitch down, it fixes both. So yeah, something to practice maybe, but I think you'll be just fine. It's with these patterns, it's a lot going on in a short period of time.
Yeah, I think that after this, I'm going to go back. I think that's one of the main things I'm going to probably hammer in, is working on that throttle control and pitching for speed. And it was helpful that you was like, hey, hold 1500 RPM. And I was like, all right, I hold 1500 RPM. But then I'm like, well, I don't know. I found it difficult to hold my altitude at that RPM, especially when descending, and then I feel like I was descending too fast. So I don't know.
I think the most of the certainly the default 172, if you ever fly that, the RPM for that is closer to 1900. And maybe in the REP it's still a little bit higher than I would use in real life, maybe closer to 17 we should have been using. But yeah, certainly the default one, it drops like a brick if you don't put 1900. So
that's one thing I was actually like earlier when we were like, all right, we'll go ahead and pitch down to land, and you were like, all right, pull the power out to get down a bit faster. And I was like, all right, cool, that sounds good. And then the nose just drops on us. I was like, wow, like we were doing 1600 feet per minute right now to descend. Like, yeah, crazy. I didn't realize it would be so dramatic to bring the power out for it to descend.
Yeah, it's really all driven by that power. I mean, if you don't touch the trim, you'll keep the same speed, but your descent rate will change, climber descent rate.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be practicing, that's for sure.
Good deal. Well, yeah, anything else for me?
For you, no. I'm just like,
if you ever want to do something like this, again, let me know. And I mean, I think it would be nice if maybe you could try with one of the other instructors I work with, and maybe do like like we mentioned, the airline type of training flight, like some V1 cuts and stuff like that, like you do on
that'd be fun.
Maneuvers check. I think you might like that. And
I still want to do that. Yeah, for sure.
I
personally am like, I'm interested in flying for real. So I understand that this stuff we're doing today is like honestly really more important than the airline stuff. But so I want to work on this, but also just for that one, I think it'd be fun to know and to be able to simulate as well in the sim. So I feel like any type of flying, can help you gain knowledge in some kind of way. Is probably something I could bring from that over here, possibly. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I like the idea. So I definitely want to do that for sure next time we have some time to do it.
Absolutely.
If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more, please click the like button and subscribe to this channel. Thanks for watching.